Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon. It's Thursday, and I'm Darrell Brew with the Fort Worth Metropolitan Black Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to another State of Your Business webinar. I'm here with the legend Bob Ray Sanders, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it to Bob Ray, and he's going to give us our announcements. Bob Ray, are you there?
Yes, I am, sir. Hello to everybody. First of all, I'd like to remind everyone that there is runoff elections this coming Saturday, and we trust that you will go vote if you haven't done so already in Fort Worth. And there are some surrounding runoffs as well, but in Fort Worth, there's runoffs for the mayor's position, a few city council and school board positions. So again, just a reminder that if you haven't voted already, please do the voting. And there are some surrounding. We also have coming up this month, June 25th, our annual luncheon, something that we didn't do last year because of COVID-19, but we will have a luncheon this year. It will be mostly virtual, and there will be a few in-person seating for some of our sponsors, so we will see them there, but most of you will be tuning in virtually, and we ask that you look at our Facebook page and our website. Stay tuned to that to tell you how you can get connected to it. Our guest speaker is going to be Dr. Case L. Lawal. Dr. Lawal is one of the leading Black businessmen in Fort Worth. Actually in the United States. He's into banking, oil imports, engineering, all kinds of oil imports, that kind of stuff. And he's also chairman of Unity Bank, which is the only Black-owned bank in Georgia and Texas. He'll be speaking on banking relationships in times like these. That's going to be at noon, June 25th. So we'd like for all of you to join in to see that. There's no fee. You'll get instructions on how to connect us by the internet. Also, the second Thursday of every month, we host the Let's Get Connected networking event. It's from 7 to 9 p.m. the second Thursday of every month. So next week, get ready for it. It'll be virtually again this month. Looking forward to having in future months getting together in person. So mark your calendars for the second Thursday of each month, 7 p.m. for our networking event. You'll enjoy it. I mean, you'll get to know people. We can set it up so that you can make special connections. All that's in the plans. And for the third Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m., we have the Next Level Entrepreneur School. It too is virtual, but it's a 2-hour interactive workshop, and learning skills will be taught in everything you need to know really about starting a business and keeping a business. The marketing, accounting, bookkeeping, income, profit, loss statements, bids and quotes, pricing, cost of goods, organization charts, setting up LLCs. All of that will be covered in this 2-hour workshop every third Tuesday at 7 p.m. Again, make sure you check our website for that, as well as our Facebook page. And just a reminder to those of you who may have been getting extra $300 a week in federal benefits for unemployment, the governor of the state has decided, rather than go all the way through September, he's going to end that program for Texans on June 26th. So that $300 payment, in addition to what you would be getting from the state every week, that $300 is going to run out on June 26th. So that's just a couple of weeks from now. Just want to make sure you're prepared. That's it, Darrell.
All right, Bob Ray. We thank you for giving us our church announcements for the week.
Thank you, Pastor.
All right. Well, I just want you guys, if you have children, if you have nieces, nephews, grandchildren, and you looking out for them to find out what are they going to do after graduation, because I know this is graduation season. I've seen that it's already happened for some, and other folks are, due to COVID, are still waiting. But we have a program today is training after graduation, after high school graduation. This is a part one. We hope to have 2 or 3 more parts to this. Today, we have Frank Kuykendal. He is the program director for Community Learning Center. Frank, are you there? You are muted. So there you go.
How's that? All right.
That's great. Great.
Thank you.
Hey, how you doing this afternoon?
We're doing great over here. How about yourself?
Doing great. Welcome. We appreciate you coming on to talk to us about this. So I'm going to give it to you. You tell me what to do.
Wow. Thank you so much, Daryl. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be able to speak to your constituency today. And I get to talk about my favorite subject, which is the youth, particularly the youth in Tarrant County. I kind of have adopted all of them. Many don't know I've adopted them yet. So we're always trying to get the word out. We want to be here to help them. And if you don't mind, I'd like to start with the PowerPoint. It's not many slides, and it'll just give us an overview of YouthBuild.
Do you want to do that one versus the other one?
Oh, would you rather do the, yeah,
It's up
I
to
think
you.
the video first is what you recommended. So let's do that.
Okay.
The video you're going to see, Evan Andrews from NBC5 television has a morning show, and he called us a couple of months ago and said, Frank, I've heard about YouthBuild. I'd like to put you on. How about tomorrow? So the video is not very professional, but we hope it carries a good message about YouthBuild.
Uh-oh. I think I'm having some. Let's try it. Oh, we didn't mean to do that. All right.
Hey.
Get back on track by helping them create a world where they are seen for their potential, power to transform not only themselves, but their communities. And starting February 1st, YouthBuild is providing an opportunity to learn home building construction all while earning GED.
There's an ever-growing number of young people who are not getting the basic education, high school diploma. They're not finding meaningful work, and they're struggling with just an unlimited list of barriers. Many of my kids have been involved in the criminal justice system, many through gangs, many through drugs. Drugs is a problem all of its own.
And YouthBuild is now taking applications ages 16 to 24 right now. Get your GED, construction training, and permanent job placement all at once. More information on the YouthBuild program and how you can qualify. Just go to our website a little bit later this morning. And remember to let us know when you see something good all across North Texas. Just reach out to us at IC@NBCDFW.com.
Great. That was cool. Make sure I
All
can
right.
stop it and doesn't start again. All right.
All right. If we could go to the PowerPoint.
All right. That'll be great. Just tell me when to change.
All right, there we go. I'd like to take a broad view of YouthBuild, and I would, this is sort of how I start the very first morning and the very first day of the youth when they come in. I try and let them know that they're joining something much bigger than them, that YouthBuild is a program that is literally international. And it was founded in 1978 in Harlem, New York, by a school teacher named Dorothy Stoneman. And it grew from there and is now in 18 countries across the world, serving 180,000 young people, and they have dedicated 50 million hours of service since 1978. That's quite a large accomplishment. The YouthBuild program is funded through the Department of Labor, and part of our jobs as YouthBuild program managers is once a year in a non-COVID year, we get to go to Washington and lobby our congressmen and senators. So it's arranged by the YouthBuild administration, and we have appointments to meet our senators and our congressmen. So that's really a very special thing to get to do, and we feel like it helps us continue the funding that we've gotten every year since 1978, which is pretty remarkable. Youth Build serves young adults, 16 to 24. And historically, these young adults have been described by sociologists and social workers as disenfranchised or marginalized or disconnected. The most popular term in the last 10 years or so has become at risk. The most recent term that most of the government agencies are going to now to describe these young people is opportunity youth. And I like that a lot better. You see, we at Youth Build don't really want to look at these young people as they have been defined previously. We know from years of working with them that they come with intelligence and excitement and energy and a view to the future. They just, and when they get here at 16 and 17, they just don't quite know what their future is. And that's one of the things that Youth Build tries to help them define. So Youth Build's vision is all over the world, is to look at these young people who have so much potential and power that they are in Youth Build through the construction of homes and the education. They learn to transform themselves as well as their communities. The values that Youth Build holds as part of the mission statement is the core values of love, accountability, collaboration, diversity, and leadership. And we infuse all of those values in everything we do every day here. And if we take the most narrow view, I suppose, with the US, I wanted to let everybody know there's 273 local Youth Build programs in the United States, and they serve a capacity of about 10,000 students every year. Next slide, please. Next slide, if you can.
I'm trying.
Is it frozen on us?
I don't know why. What's the next thing to do? Why I can't. Okay, somehow I did that, right?
Beautiful. Great. Youth Build, constructing your future. Obviously, I'm playing off of the word build in Youth Build. And one of the most important things we think we do is give these young people a tangible skill, construction. We go to the NCCR National Core Carpentry Construction Manuals. We have online training and in classroom training. It lasts about 2.5 to 3 weeks, and they learn construction from the ground up. Paired with that, with every chapter, there's an actual hands-on activity or 2 or 3. And so we step out of the classroom and step into the construction lab, and they will learn under tutelage of instructors how to run the power tools, how to measure, how to read a tape measure. We have to start with that. How to cut angles with the various saws, how to use the drills, the planes, every piece of construction equipment needed in home building we have here, and they get a chance to have hands-on instruction. After this period of time, then we actually historically have gone out and built homes in partnership with Habitat for Humanities for a few years, and then most recently with the Housing Channel. Both of these organizations, large nonprofit construction outfits that are dedicated to providing these homes to low-income families. And so that was a real mission, and it's quite common for a young person who's in Youth Build to have their family on a Sunday afternoon drive to the site and point to a house and say, I'm building that house. That house, I built that wall. I finished that. I worked on the roof. They have a lot of pride in doing this. And it builds confidence as they begin to see that they can actually do something they never thought they could do. Most recently, we have moved to building tiny homes. And there was a number of reasons why we wanted to transition to this. It's still in partnership with the Housing Channel, and the Housing Channel provides all the construction materials that we need. And our construction manager, Chris Savage, designs the houses. He does a parts list so that we know every nut and bolt and lumber and roofing material, everything we're going to need to build a tiny home. And then he oversees us building a tiny home with every single cohort. So instead of just working on part of a house, coming back, going out the next day and doing a different part of the house, we now have these students who can actually have hands-on experience building every possible phase that goes in a normal home. Just happens to be tiny. So you'll see some pictures later on of it, and we're really excited to be able to offer this to our young people. Youth Build gets young ladies too, and I want to mention that they're most welcome. And sometimes they'll say, well, why do I need to learn to build a house? I say, well, maybe you don't need to have to be a construction person, but let's say that you're in your mid-30s and you need to have someone come in and fix your home, you're going to know exactly if they're doing it right or not because you've installed a window, you've put a door in, you've fixed the plumbing. You're going to be able to look and see if they're doing it right. And maybe you might like to help fix your grandma's house. So we feel like it's a very practical and useful thing. But the message behind this, the underlying foundation of the youth build and construction, we feel that as a youth begins to fashion a home and see it grow and have the experience of doing it, it also is a metaphor and contributing to them maybe taking steps to rebuild their own lives. And in many cases, this does work in that way. Next slide. Let's talk about Youth Build Fort Worth if we could. I don't know how many people know this, but in writing a federal grant, you have to establish a statement of need. Probably a lot of you out there have done this. As we were beginning to write our first Youth Build program and were awarded the first one in 2012, some of the statistics that we have had to deal with is that especially the southeast portion of Fort Worth, the average income is 90% lower than in all other U.S. neighborhoods. The crime rate is 94% higher than in all other U.S. neighborhoods. And with 58% of these children in these neighborhoods living below the federal poverty level, we have a higher rate of childhood poverty than 94% of all U.S. neighborhoods. So as you can see, there has been some really serious socioeconomic needs. And as someone has these restrictions, the poverty restrictions, even though it restricts opportunities in all areas and levels, and it fosters cultures that may put a lot of barriers in front of these youth to being successful. And that's one of the things that we fight hardest to overcome when we bring these young people in. Next slide. You can see the happy graduation ceremonies. With COVID being less and less, we hope to be able to go back to our graduation ceremonies. They're a thing to behold. We have 20 or 30 students to graduate, and we have well over 100 friends and family in the audience. And it's we put on caps and gowns, and we play pomp and circumstance, and we get our diplomas, and it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to going back to that soon. What is at risk? Let's talk about these students, because we don't see them in the normal way that social workers have over the years in the past. Approximately 50,000 16 and 17-year-olds are arrested each year in the United States. This is one of those really tangible factors that people have perceived as why they're called at risk. Involvement in the criminal justice system in some way or another is unfortunately endemic of low-income areas and typical of at least 60% of our students. And that's one of the things that my organization, the Community Learning Center, has really been a champion of, is helping people re-enter society, helping folks of all ages get the kind of training they need. And when you knock on the door of a company that's desperate for welders or machinists, logistics people, and then you've got fresh training, cutting edge training, many times it will wipe away that stigma of being arrested or being involved in the criminal justice system, and they'll give you a second chance. And my youth builders who have had issues, we have a lot of employers who are standing ready to hire them, but you never have enough, and you never have enough partnerships out there. So I'll talk about that later. Many times if our youth have to go to court, we'll go with them. We'll stand by them. We'll go multiple times, whatever it takes. And it is not unknown at all. Some of the judges who've been working with us for a long time will sentence a youth to youth build, and they'll say, now you get your GED and then come back to my court and I'll take away the charge. And we're so happy to be a diversionary program for the system. And we will stand by our youth and try and help them, again, overcome whatever barriers they have, move forward with their lives, be successful. Next slide. Sorry, I'm behind. Continuing with this idea, the picture really tells a story. We have been very fortunate to be successful in helping a lot of these young people who did have this involvement in the criminal justice system. There's a lot of testimonials, but there's one on our website I'd like to mention now, and I'm going to quote a young lady who says, 1 year ago today, I was sitting in a jail cell waiting to be sentenced. Today, I am a nationally certified welder and working for one of the top companies in our industry. It's all thanks to CLC and Youth Build Fort Worth. We're very proud to have a lot of testimonials like that, but we don't win all the battles. We don't persuade all the young people who come to us, especially the younger ones, to be successful. But when a young person comes and joins Youth Build, again, the very first day, I tell them you have now become part of something that's really big. It's international. And as far as our chapter of Youth Build goes, you're part of our family. And every one of my staff believes this. If you have to drop out for some kind of reason, keep us in mind, come back to us at any point in time. You've got to your 24 years old if you need be. Let us help you get that education if you didn't finish it. Let us help you get your construction certification if you quit too early. If you'd like advanced training, by all means, please come back. Let us get you into welding and machining and logistics, something like bookkeeping. We've got a lot of options, and let us help you get on the career path. If we tell them if you go out there and you get a job and you lose it, you need help, come back. We'll help you get another job. We want to stand by these young people and never quit on them. And we hope that's a good message. Another component that we feel very strongly about is AmeriCorps. We've had an AmeriCorps program for about 12 years consecutively now, and we co-enroll most of our young people. We give them an option, but most want to go ahead and join AmeriCorps, and that is the service component of Youth Build. And so every Friday we are out into the community. It was difficult during COVID, but we're doing a lot more now, and we will help those in need. We working with the Hope Center, helping pass out food. We've worked with a number of other food distribution centers to be their labor, help them stock the shelves, help them pass out the food. We work in at least 2 different community gardens. The Tarrant Area County Food Bank's mobile service, where they Meals on Wheels, they have a client there that is in need of a wheelchair ramp. We're going to be building that for them soon. And we've worked a lot with our nonprofits that may need some kind of construction help, and we'll go over and we'll help them. We've built bathrooms and built walls and sheetrocked and taped and bedded, built countertops. We've done all kinds of things for our nonprofit partners. So as these young people learn what service is and see the effect that they can have on the community, it helps them change who they are. And research shows that about 60% of Youth Build graduates continue service long after they have been a Youth Build student. So we're really happy about that and proud. And just as an added little bonus, when you get up to 400 hours of community service, AmeriCorps will award you a scholarship for $1,500. It stays in escrow with the Department of Labor for you for the next 7 years, and you can have it applied to any college you want to go to and nearly all the training or skills training programs you might want to go to. So that's just another added bonus, a way of saying thank you for the service you provide. Next, please. Youth Build education. This is in fact, most young people who call us ask about the GED program. They don't really fully know all the things that come with Youth Build, and that's great because we're here to help them. Youth Build's GED education is an applied learning model. You have to apply these learning examples, and most people these days are hands-on kinesthetic learners. So we need to make sure that you don't just read it or hear it. You're doing things with the academics that you're learning, and we infuse leadership opportunities in the classroom and service in the classrooms. So we try to integrate everything into a whole. The GED program at Youth Build is a teach to the test program. These young people come here not to get a worldly, wide-ranging liberal education. They come here to get the degree and get out. And so we try and accommodate that. We have terrific teachers. We have classrooms that are top-notch, computer rooms. We have purchased software that is from the people who give you the GED testing online. And it is designed to help you quickly get through the material necessary to pass and graduate. So if a student takes a pre-test online and misses a few questions, the system will let them know what questions they missed and then give them study materials for those specific missed questions. So the student already has mastered some of what they need. There's no sense in going back over it. Let's get what you didn't get right, and then we're going to be able to pass the test next time out. We think that's very practical, and a lot of people are surprised, but we can take the average young person who comes in and they can get their GED in approximately 4.5 months. Some take longer, and that's all right. Some get through quicker than that. I can tell you that if a young person dropped out of school recently and they got all the way up to, say, the 11th or 12th grade, they are pretty close to passing already, and we've had them get out in a month. So There's a lot of one-on-one, there's small class sizes. You can see the picture there. Sometimes we'll pull everybody together and work on one subject. A lot of times that there'll be a one-on-one with a teacher, and at other times there'll be study on a specific software like I was telling you. So we think we've got a good program. The classrooms are very, very much student-centered. There is discipline, there's rules and regulations, but we don't kick you out and throw you away if you make an infraction. We talk to you and put you right back in class. So we want you to graduate. Okay, next slide. I wanted to show you what a tiny home looks like. Sort of scanning from the left side of my screen to the right, you can see sort of how the tiny home grows. Like all tiny homes, we build it on a trailer, and the students have a lot of fun with it. They don't really work super hard, but they do work as a team. Once in a while, they sit down on a windowsill like the young man down in the lower bottom. And of course, you see the house being wrapped. The picture in the center with the tower there, that's a forklift with an iron cage, and the two young men who are working on that roof are wearing harnesses so that they understand how to do that kind of work and how to make sure that they're safe at all times. And you can see the kind of the skeleton of the inside and a finished bathroom. And that little picture in the center on the right is a picture of where your bedroom is. That would be the loft where your mattress goes. And finally, a picture of the tiny home almost complete. Construction skills, as I mentioned earlier, are one of the ways we can help these young people not only get certified certifications in these areas and go to work in construction, home building industry from YOUTHBUILD, they also can gain invaluable knowledge and experience I think will be helpful for them to the rest of their lives. And if construction whets their appetite and they'd like to go in another industry, we're always searching for employers who are willing to give these young people a chance. And sometimes they go from construction to say they want to take welding or machining or logistics or any of our classes. When they graduate YOUTHBUILD, those classes are available to them and they do not cost them anything. And then we'll place them in those fields once they graduate. We've had a lot of young people, welding is popular. And so a lot of young people move from YOUTHBUILD into our welding class. It's right here in the same building, 8 weeks long. We have day and night classes. So some people will need to work and that's fine. And they earn an American Welding Society 1G certification, which is nationally, actually worldwide recognized. And it tells the employer your entry level. We know what you took in class, so we know what you did in class. They'll have them do a weld test and then they'll offer them salaries. It's not uncommon for my young people who are say 18, 19 to be offered $15 to $18 an hour. And in the welding industry, they badly need people to work overtime. So if you take a young person making $18 an hour and works 60 hours a week, their pre-tax gross would be about $12.50 a week. And so those who have gone through that program are able to go back and help support their families, their siblings, their mom, dad. Some who don't need to do that are beginning to move forward in their lives economically and buy the things they've always wanted. They'll get a car, they'll get an apartment. And we do a financial literacy training here. So we're always available to help them whenever they're making big financial decisions. Once again, they're part of my YOUTHBUILD family. We're always here. I think that's it. Next slide. Employer partners. We always need employer partners. The youth need them. And there's a almost endless variety of things that an employer partner, depending on their time and desires, can do something to help these young people. The most important thing, I think, and the thing we ask first is, would you come speak to us? We've been doing that virtually over the last year, but again, as things change in COVID, we are beginning to bring employers in to speak to our youth. They generally come on Friday because that's the day that they have dedicated to this. But if an employer just has a Monday at lunchtime opportunity that they could come give us 30 minutes, we'll definitely accommodate that employer. When an employer comes in, what would you like to talk about? We leave it up to the employer. But I'll tell you, the things that the students resonate to is success stories. And the more different success stories they hear, the more they begin to believe they might be able to become a success story in the future. The other thing our employers talk about is what it's like to work in my industry, what it's like to work in my company. And they need this too. Most of these young people who come to us have lived a fairly myopic life. They haven't really been exposed to a lot of different kinds of jobs that might be available to them. And so that's one of the things we do here. We present these things in class, but the employers, when they come in and talk about their business, it rings so much more true, and the youth believe it. We've had young people divert into completely different industries, sometimes businesses that they never knew existed, never knew what it was like to work in them. And they'll hear an employer partner start talking about these things, and they become very enthusiastic. And that's meaningful. It really does help us. We have a mentoring program here. We've had, again, for about 11 years, we've had a mentoring program for YouthBuild. And we start out for the first couple of months doing group mentoring. The kids will all get together. The employers will all be there. We'll have some refreshments, and we'll have a program. And they just casually kind of meet each other and talk to each other. And if natural pairings develop, then we allow those mentoring relationships to continue. YouthBuild would like them to continue for a year, but that is not organically possible sometimes. And so we just offer that opportunity to connect with young people, and mentoring can be very rewarding. We've had young people call their mentor in times of crisis, and the mentor was able to advise them wisely, and the youth, I think of several specific cases, the youth was able to avoid some serious trouble that they would have gotten into without the advice of a mentor. So mentors can be very important to these young people. We really appreciate it when an employer says, why don't you bring the kids over and let us tour? So we've toured paint factories. We go over to the electrical union hall and see what electricians do for a living. And we've gone to a lot of other businesses, got a chance to tour, see what it looks like in their business. And again, it opens the eyes and opens the world of possibilities for these young people. So touring is something we really, really like to be able to do a lot more of. If we're going to keep asking for something, let's continue. Another thing that we need a lot more of is opportunities for a young person to job shadow someone in a business. If they spend a day following maybe your assistant manager or someone that you have as a veteran employee, and they follow them as their work day goes on, has a chance to see what they do, maybe ask questions, see the bigger picture. Where do the employees park? What does it look like when they take a break? All these kinds of things. The young person would never have any inkling of what it was like without that one day of job shadowing. So those opportunities we really relish, and we'd love to have a lot more. As these young people begin to get ready to take a job, we've had employers come in and give mock interviews. Well, maybe they can give us an hour, so we'll maybe set up 2 interviews, and we'll try and make it as real as we can. And it really helps these young people because they're going to make a lot of mistakes when they first start. And these mock interviews are fun, and they're very instructive, so we appreciate those. Internships are becoming something that YouthBuild is stressing. In fact, even the workforce here is stressing internships. If a young person might be able to work with your crews, be on your site working, say, every day for a period of time that would be right for that employer, it is an invaluable experience, and they can be paid or unpaid. But opportunities to see the real workplace are rare, and we'd like a lot more of them for our young people. And of course, we'd like for more opportunities for these young people to get hired. Times are changing, as you guys all know. And from what I understand, what I read, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, just driving down the freeways and the highways, and I see now hiring signs everywhere. Maybe employers that might be listening to me now think, boy, I really need a lot of young people, but I can only take maybe one every 6 months, but I'd like to have a steady influx of young people to learn our craft and my business. We might be the right partner for you and set up maybe a pipeline for that. And we would be very flexible, listening to the employer. Maybe the employer who might want to set up a pipeline like this would only want maybe 2 or 3 or 4 young people a year staggered out so that he could make sure that each one was integrated properly. And we would invite that employer to come in, visit with the youth, get to know who they were, and be a major part in selecting who you might want to work with. So I've asked a lot of things, and I appreciate your time. Daryl, I guess it's time for questions and answers. I lost everybody. Did you lose?
No, I see you.
Oh, okay. I don't see anybody.
You see me now, right?
No, sir. No, I'm so poor. No, let me get. Oh yeah. There you go.
Yeah, you got those 2 or 3 screens. So
no, I unplugged them. Really, I just got one. Thank you for putting that with me. I appreciate it.
No problem. We appreciate you giving us all that information. I'm going to ask Bob Ray to come forward and see if he has any questions or any questions from the Zoom or the Facebook. By the way, if you are on Facebook, please just type your question into the comment section and we will read them aloud and then answer them. And then also, if you're on the Zoom, go ahead and type the question in the Q&A section or in the chat, and we'll read those aloud and get them answered for you. Bob Ray?
Yes, sir. I want Frank to know that I've been following him for years and YouthBuild for years. So you being watched, sir. I just wanted to let you know that. And great job that you've been doing. In fact, we have one person who wrote in and said that they just got their application for YouthBuild. How do you get an application for YouthBuild? Aside from the course, who recommends kids for this program?
We're moving forward technologically here sort of slowly, but I believe we have put the application online. But the normal way over the years is that we have a Wednesday orientation every Wednesday at 9 o'clock here in the Forest Hill location. And the orientation goes from 9 to 12. And we invite anybody. You can just pop in, or you can call and make an appointment, but you're certainly welcome just to come into that orientation, sit and listen. We describe all the programs, all the grants. We find out what it is you're looking for and make sure we try and accommodate it. But that's also the session where you fill out the application. We have everybody take a TABE assessment that is required by the state of Texas, because all of our skills training classes are sanctioned by them and monitored by the state of Texas. We're on the eligible training provider list, so Workforce Funds will pay for training. So just that paperwork, that's where it all starts.
You talked about certifications. How many fields can you get certified in if you went through this program? How many possibilities are there? You mentioned the welding for sure, but can I get certified in something else?
Let's start with just the YouthBuild track itself. You get your high school education, GED or high school equivalency. You get your core carpentry construction from NCCER. You get an OSHA 10 certification in safety. All are nationally recognized. After that, it would be up to the YouthBuild student. If they wanted to continue, they can take one of the other 6 courses we offer. Welding is the most popular, but certainly CNC machining stands equal in pay and opportunity, and it's just a little bit different kind of daily work style. You're not working with intense heat. You're cutting metal. The logistics program is hugely popular. It's only 2 weeks, and you get a certified logistics associate certification, so that puts you into the logistics industry. The CNC machining class has a NIMS, National Institute of Metal Workers certification. And I think I mentioned earlier, the welding has an American Welding Society certification. So those are the ones that are available. We have an aerospace program that we don't talk a lot about because it just honestly stays full all the time. Back in 2002, I ran the AITP program, which was our first aerospace program. And we trained 1,000 people in sheet metal assembly in partnership with Lockheed Martin and Bell Helicopter. And well over 900 went to work for Lockheed building F-16s. Today, obviously, aircraft hulls are not metal anymore, they're composites. And so our class now is a composite bonding advanced material repair that students learn. And again, the vast majority go to Lockheed Martin or Bell Helicopter. To take those classes, you have to have a completely clean record. So that sometimes eliminates a few. All of the other classes are felony friendly, as are employers.
And you mentioned the kind of pay that you may get as a beginning welder. Is there any compensation for the students while they're going through the process?
Well, it depends on the grant that funds them. In fact, the vast majority don't pay anything for these classes. And so everything's provided for them, but there is not a salary for those on any program we've got, with the exception of YouthBuild. YouthBuild students get $125 a week. It's a stipend. It's not meant to be a living wage at all. It's just to defer their cost of getting here, bringing a lunch, things like that. And I continue that stipend while they're in training. So the YouthBuild student would continue getting the stipend on a weekly basis during that 8-week training program. But the other programs don't provide any compensation.
Right. And they are responsible for their own transportation, their own way of getting there, right?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Well, many of our programs will offer bus passes and will offer gas cards. And most people, I can tell you these days, don't ride the bus. In fact, I've got a lot of kids who live in Crowley or White Settlement or, just a little bit further away from Forest Hill. And the condition of this transportation system is such that they have to ride 2 buses to get here. One takes you downtown and one takes you here. And with all the stops, there's these young people looking at a 2-hour ride to work or a 2-hour ride to school and a 2-hour ride back home. And so they scramble and try and find somebody they can put gas in their car. So we do help with that.
Okay, and what percentage of the kids actually stay in the construction business? Do you have any details on that? You keep
I
track
do.
of them that way?
Yeah, the 16 to 17-year-olds can't. I guess it's the insurance, but the regulations don't let them go to work on construction sites till they're 18. Those who are 18 to 24, I would say 10%, not that many, go into construction. And sometimes it's not whole building construction. Sometimes they'll go work with a roofing company or mold abatement, something like that. Sometimes it's a specialty niche.
And Frank, some people wanted to know your contact information.
Oh, absolutely. Should I put it in the chat box?
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, and Daryl would have it. So, and people who want to contact Daryl can do that by his email is ddaryl, right?
Correct.
Yeah, ddaryl@FWMBCC.org and check with Daryl. But Frankie's going to put it in the chat box too, so you can go directly there if you need it. I'm looking to see if I have some more questions here. Daryl, I think those are the questions that I have, and from the Facebook.
All right. So it's D Brewer at FWMBCC.org. DBREWER at FWMBCC.org. And Frank's name is Frank Kuykendal, and his phone number is 817-887-9720, extension 223. 817-887-9720, extension 223. And he is with Community Learning Centers Incorporated. Got to put the ink in there, because if you put CLC, you get somebody else. I know from experience. Let's see, we still have a little bit of time. So I did have a few questions for you myself, Frank. You mentioned the bus systems, and you're not aware of this, but we've been working with Trinity Metro for about 2 years on this. And so they have redesigned the bus system. And it has not gone into effect or been approved, but your point was well taken, because what's going to happen, instead of going to downtown and then going up Mansfield Highway, for instance, they'll have what we call crosstown routes, where you don't have to just go downtown and then come back up. So that will save time. Also, I would like for you to look into zip zones as well. Okay. And zip zone is like, it's sort of like Uber within a certain zone, and it's $3.
That's great.
Yes. So now we've got to make sure that they zipping and zoning in our zones, but it is available. So we want to look into those areas as well. Now, what are your hours of training, classroom training?
Well, YouthBuild is 8:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
And the other programs like welding start sooner. But most are in that general range, except for the night welding. The welding demand is so high, we run a night class.
Okay.
A lot of people who are trying to work during the day will come to that. And that's 4:30 to 10, Vince? Yeah. And it runs 10 weeks, because you meet a little less each night.
Right. And I remember the welding before, when I was talking to you guys. I think that starts like at 7 in the morning, because they want to put you on what you'll be working in real life there. So
right. All of our classes, we try very hard to make sure all of our classes will will accurately represent the actual workplace. And we have a lot of employers who give us input to that. And we made changes at the employer's request. So when a young person is in, say, one of my 18-year-old young people, no work experience at all, comes out of welding, and he's interviewing with Sabre Tubular Technologies down in Alvarado, we'll provide that employer with good work history while they're here, make sure that they know that the young person's been on time, he's been respectful, he's worked hard, he's achieved all these things. And of course, we prep him for the interview as best we can.
Awesome. So I want to get back to where the youth come from, or typically their situation. And I want to be clear on some of the things that I thought I heard you say. That 90% of them are, the neighborhoods in which they come from are 90% lower than other neighborhoods.
Around the U.S., yeah.
Around the U.S.
Yeah.
So in other words, they're the lowest 10%
Yes, sir.
of neighborhood incomes in the area in the U.S. And is that income that's 90%?
Yes.
Okay. And then you said something else was 94%. Do you remember what that was?
I got a note here, just a second, I'll find it.
I know that was in your introduction.
Crime rate is 94%. Higher in those neighborhoods that they come from than it is in most neighborhoods around the country.
Okay. Now, can you characterize where that's located here in Fort Worth?
It's going to be generally in the southeast quadrant of Fort Worth, Stop Six, Dunbar, Poly, that whole region. There's about 6 or 7 high schools in the region, and we extend over toward Arlington, but by grant design, we can't go outside Tarrant County. If
So
we did,
primarily within the Loop 820.
yes, sir.
Loop
Yep.
820, I-35.
Yep, exactly.
Which is what I call the fuzzy red line.
And that's where most of our youth build students come from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And that's from age 16 to age 24.
Yes,
Now, what programs are outside of that age?
good
And
question.
I know this has to do with how you're funded.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so what's available, quote unquote, for free outside of age
absolutely.
24, outside of age 24?
Well, I would start with self-sufficiency. And that's a grant we have repeatedly won. Very lucky to have gotten it inside of the state of Texas. It's not a federal grant. Self-sufficiency is income-based, and it is for anyone 18 and older who makes less than $37,000 a year. That's the main criteria. And I would tell you one of the great stories in that one is we had a dear lady, 71 years old, whose daughter had 2 little children in diapers, and the daughter had to go to prison, actually. It was going to be gone a while. And she wasn't making enough money to survive and was looking for a way to find employment, gainful employment, that would make a living wage. And she came to our logistics class, did the Certified Logistics Associate, which is a classroom training, which has the national certification, learned everything there is to know about warehouse, shipping, receiving, inventory, all of it. And then she had a week's practice on the forklift and her obstacle course. And I'm so happy to say she's now working for Benny Keith. She, a couple of weeks after she got there, they offered an opportunity for $1 an hour more if someone would be the primary forklift driver that went into the freezer. And all those young men said, no, not me. And she said, give me a coat. And she went right in, and she's doing great. So any age is fine. Now, Daryl, if you'd like, I can go into a lot more detail about the eligibility requirements, things like that. But it really is issued to us to help low-income people change their lives. And you can take any of our trainings under that grant, and we'll pay for it.
That's great. I just looked, and we got about 5 minutes left. I have to tell you, she's better than me, because in my younger days, I volunteered for the freezing. I don't think they gave me $1 more either.
Yeah, I was ordered in the freezer. I worked at a turkey processing plant. Woo.
Yes, and the shame on them, because when on the way in to the freezer with the forklift, they have the temperature gauge above it.
Yeah.
And I remember many a days going in there on the way in, it was 20 below.
Oh, ouch. You got arthritis now, Daryl? I love it. Do what we have to do.
Made me go to college. So
Good.
all right.
About 10% of my youth decide to go to college. They come here just depressed and think they can't be successful in academics and find out they can.
Okay.
And so Tarrant County College takes a good 10% of it. Military takes another 10%. And we got relationships with the union apprenticeships for, we were on a program for you a year or so ago. And
Right.
Dan and I were on there. And so we put kids in the sheet metal assembly, electricians, plumbers, HVAC, many as we can talk into it. Those are great careers.
Awesome. Well, in fact, I said this is part 1, so I plan to have 2 and 3 and get the apprenticeship programs on here, as well as Tarrant County. The great Dr. Gwen Morrison, she's watching.
Call me.
So yes, that's we're planning to do that because it's just so important, and we want to take the opportunity while people have on their mind, okay, what am I going to do next? I've graduated. Parents are going to be bugging them.
Yeah.
Go do something. Well, what can I do? We want to be able to provide these videos so they know what they can do next.
For the first time this year, Daryl, if I could, I'll just throw one thing in because you mentioned it. Over all the years, YouthBuild's always had a tiny little exception clause that would let me accept a few young people who already had their high school diploma. And then those people I would put straight into the training, welding, machining, aerospace, whatever they wanted. During the COVID year, I hardly got any kids come in and want that. So I've been advertising that. I still have about a dozen slots. One of these young people graduates and doesn't want to go to college. Maybe they've just graduated. I'd love to help them out if they'd like to go into the trades.
All right, that's great. Well, I don't have any other questions. Barbara, you have any questions, sir?
I think that's it. We got a few people just saying hello, but other than that, great job.
Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
Frank.
It's been an honor. Thank you.
We appreciate you, and we'll have you on at least once a year because this is just so vital. The chamber, we have 2 pillars: economics and education. I always say you can't have economic development without education. So we will always have people like you on. So thank you again, and we'll be connecting with you very soon.
Thank you.
Bob Ray, I'm gonna hand it over to you and let you give us our announcements.
Okay, once again, just remind you that our annual luncheon for the chamber, which is usually our biggest fundraising luncheon, we won't raise any funds this year, but we are going to have it. It'll be mostly virtual. That's going to be on June 25th at noon. There will be a small component that would be in-house, but most people will be tuning in like we are right now. And just stay tuned to our website and our Facebook pages for how you can join us at noon on June 25th to hear Dr. Case L. Lawal, one of the most influential Black businessmen in America. He's in the banking, oil and gas imports, refinery, engineering, and as I said, he's chairman of Unity Bank Board, and that's the only African-American owned bank, national African-American owned bank in Texas and Georgia. He'll be speaking on the topic, banking relationships in times like these. A reminder that every second Thursday of the month, we have our Let's Get Connected networking event. That's from 7 to 9. It'll be virtual again this month, hoping soon to take it actually to an actual place where we can all meet face to face on the patio of some restaurant. And a reminder that on the 3rd Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m., we have the Next Level Entrepreneur School, which is a 2-hour interactive workshop with learning skills on how to get into business, how to stay in business, all kinds of things that dealing with budgeting, bids and quotes, pricing, cost of goods, bookkeeping, all of those things you need to know. That's the 3rd Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. And a reminder to those who are receiving extra help for unemployment from the federal government. That program was to last through September, but in Texas, our governor has decided that they're cutting off that $300 payment, extra payment per week, beginning June 26th. And another reminder that we have runoff elections in Fort Worth for mayor, city council, and school board. That's June 5th. If you haven't voted already, please vote. And Daryl, I'll let you remind them who our sponsor of this program is.
All right, thank you. Our sponsor is, we'd like to thank Texas Electric Service Company and their parent company, Vistra Energy, for being our major sponsor. And with that, we want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank Mr. Kuykendal for coming out, and our Facebook viewers as well as our Zoom viewers. And we will see you next week, if God says the same. Bye now.
All right.